Hello, my name is Keith Bailey. I'm here to do my recap of the NFL Week 3, then pending the Sunday and Monday night game, of course. So let's get started. We'll start with Kansas City, Philadelphia. I feel proud to say that I called the fact that the Eagles, after Week 1, completely overrated, especially with the Redskins losing, makes that win in Week 1 not as impressive. The Eagles aren't as good as we thought. That offense is a mess. And the Chiefs went in and they were able to get a 10-point win. So congrats to the Chiefs. They're 3-0 with a winnable game against the Giants coming up, but more on that later. Next, we have Houston at Baltimore. A lot of people picked Houston in this game. Me, Houston had to scrape by the first two games of the year. They could easily have been 0-2 going into this, and Baltimore just thumped them. It wasn't as much on Houston's defense as it was special teams and offensive mistakes. 14 points for Baltimore off of turnovers and punt return. So Baltimore 30-9 just thumped Houston. So it was a good win by Baltimore. Lets the league know, hey, we're still competitive. Don't count us out too quick. And next game, out of all teams this season, it's like I think the Giants dressed up like I think Jacksonville shipped their whole team to the Giants and dressed up in the Giants uniforms. So that's why they put a goose egg against the Panthers. The Panthers, I don't know what happened in this game. The Panthers they annihilated the Giants. It wasn't even close. 38-0 the final of this game. One of the biggest shutouts against the Giants in New York Giants history. And this is the biggest win for Carolina in their team's history, point-wise. So a good win for Carolina, getting off the schneid. 1-2 they are, and the Giants are 0-3, which is definitely not what I expected, but it's the NFL. Next, a game that I proudly picked correctly. Green Bay at Cincinnati. It looked like the Packers were going to run away with this. Well, first it looked like the Bengals were going to run away with this after a 14-0 quick lead, and then Packers scored 30 unanswered, and then the Bengals went and scored 20 unanswered. This was a very good game on both sides of the ball. There were a lot of turnovers in the game. I think 4 from each team, so they all cancel each other out. But for the most part, Cincinnati holding on to the win against a good Packers team. Green Bay falls to 1-2, and the Bengals, they could be 3-0 right now if it weren't for stupid mistakes against the Bears. Watch out for the Bengals. They're a very dangerous team in the AFC. I think they're pushing Kansas City for the second best team in the AFC. And Miami. Can't leave them out of it, especially after what they did, but more on that later. St. Louis at Dallas. The Rams they're not as good as we thought going into this year. We thought they were going to be a sleeper this year. Sam Bradford finally had weapons. We thought wrong. I mean, St. Louis is 1-2 and got trounced by Dallas. So it's a good win for Dallas. And that's especially a good win for Dallas considering the Giants and Redskins lost and the Eagles lost. So if things continue in a trend the way they are now, the Cowboys are going to win this division. And that's kind of unique to say only 3 weeks into the season, but with the way things are playing out, it's really looking that way. But I don't want to assume too early into the year. Next, Cleveland at Minnesota. Brian Hoyer for Cleveland. Threw a couple picks in there, but 31-27 over the Vikings. The Vikings are really bad, and it's shocking how bad they really are. Cleveland went in there and beat them. That's a good win by Cleveland. I guess that proves that they are not throwing in the towel. They did trade Trent Richardson to the Indianapolis Colts, and looked like it panned out. I would say the quarterback situation panned out more than anything, because Brian Hoyer went in there, and I don't think Whedon could have played like that against a defense like this. So, good win for Cleveland. Minnesota goes to 0-3. Browns go to 1-2. Next game. The Buccaneers are just bad. I'm sorry. The Patriots won 23-3, and the Bucs tried hanging in there for most of the game, but New England just opened it in the fourth quarter, and the offense just it looked terrible. And the Patriots go to 3-0. I think the 10 days preparation definitely helped for New England, but it would help any team for that matter. So, good win by New England with a Miami team still hot on their trail. Little do we forget. Next, we have the Cardinals going to the Saints. I am the first to admit I was completely wrong on this. It was a very gutsy prediction in my last video. I predicted the Cardinals to win. I knew it was going to be a long shot. I wanted to see if it happened, then I would feel like a boss, but it didn't happen. So I looked like an idiot. But other than that, the Saints completely opened the game up in the fourth quarter, especially. Good win by them. Very quiet 3-0 Saints team. And we have a Monday Night Football game next week involving the 3-0 Dolphins and the 3-0 Saints. So that's a game that I am itching to watch next week. So good win by the Saints. Bad loss by the Cardinals. On we go. San Diego at Tennessee, and let me just say I was sweating when I was watching this game. This game drove me nuts. Penalty-wise, we were committing stupid mistakes, and Jake Locker, when it mattered most, drove the team 94 yards in the last 2 minutes of the game, and were able to get the win. I'll be the first to say that was a little bit of a push-off at the end, and that's being honest. I'm not being biased or anything. But worthy of a penalty? No. I don't think that would be way too ticky-tacky, in my opinion, for there to be a penalty on something like that. So I will say, like, there was a little bit of a push-off involved, but not enough for a blatant call. It's not like he shoved the cornerback to the ground. That would be worthy of a call. So, good win by Tennessee. We're 2-1, holding off the Chargers. We got a game against the Jets next week, which is winnable. And enough about them. Hey, next game, Detroit at Washington. The Lions get their first ever win in Washington, D.C. Yes, first ever win in D.C. 27-20. Robert Griffin III and the Redskins dropped to 0-3. The Lions go to 2-1. I think the Lions are a sleeper team. They have St. Louis status going into the year. In other words, I thought St. Louis was going to be a sleeper pick. Turns out it's Detroit instead. Detroit's doing what I thought the Rams were going to do. So, good win by the Lions. They're 2-1. Don't overlook them. They have one of the best records in the NFC, actually, because at this point there are only either 5 or 6 teams in the NFC that have a winning record. So good for the Lions. Next game. Miami proves it can play with the big boys, beating Atlanta 27-23. What a game this was. Ryan Tannehill, he's the future of that team, and he played really well. Dolphins had their first 3-0 start since 2002, and the Dolphins get to play the Saints in New Orleans on Monday night. And I am looking, like I said before, I'm looking forward to watching that game. I think it's going to be really good. So, like it. Good win. Moving on. Buffalo at the Jets. I picked the Bills to win. That didn't really work out. The Bills just kind of, well, I would say that out of all of these two teams, the Jets shot themselves more in the foot than anything. I mean, 19 penalties in a game and they still win. So, the Bills' defense could not stop them. They couldn't generate any offense until the fourth quarter. And this was a good win by a Jets team that many people thought would only get 1 or 2 wins this year, and they've already matched that total 3 weeks into the season. So you got to give them props. Good for the Jets. All right, next, Jacksonville at Seattle. I am very disappointed in the Seahawks. I'm appalled at the Seahawks. I mean, they let a Jaguars team score 17 points on them at home. The The Jaguars scored 14 more points than the Niners did. I mean, I'm disappointed in the. I mean, the Seahawks also only won by 28, so that's disappointment in itself. I mean, they should have just destroyed them more than they did in this game. So it was a good win, I guess, by the Seahawks. Jacksonville scored some points in this game, and Seattle's defense may not be as good as we thought they were. I'm only kidding. Seattle's defense is fantastic, and I'm just screwing around there, but definitely more points than I thought would be allowed, but they already had a huge lead in the game, so they were garbage points more than anything. Next game, and wow, this is the last game. What a game this was. The Colts going into the San Francisco 49ers home stadium and thumping them. Like, it wasn't even close. Alex Smith had, I believe, 11 completions in the entire game, and the Colts just completely shut him down and shut that whole team down. Jim Harbaugh with the back-to-back losses for the first time in his coaching career, which is very impressive. He's been coaching for a little over 2 years now. So for that to happen this late into his coaching career is phenomenal. And Indianapolis, there's a little level of inconsistency. I mean, they almost lose at home to Oakland, and then they go and thump the defending NFC champion 49ers on the road. So I think Indianapolis could be a team where you don't know which team shows up every single week, but from what I can tell, in San Francisco, the right team showed up, and that's scary for the rest of the league. So that's my recap for Week 3. I'll have the Sunday and Monday night recap in my next video when I make my Week 4 picks. As always, thank you for watching. Enjoy the Sunday night game tonight. I picked the Steelers to win. And please subscribe, and I hope you all have a good night.